Hey, it's Jamila, and I am going live to talk about the topic of when you are dismissed. And this is really based on a recent experience that I had, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about how it made me feel, what the connection was to something I have felt previously, and just my general thoughts about it. So, I had a recent experience where I was made to feel dismissed, in that sometimes people will make you feel like, they're just too important, to have anything to do with you, or that they're just not approachable. And it actually hurt my feelings. And it reminded me of an experience that I had many, many years ago. It had to be at least 20 years ago. Hey, Ronita. Hey, Vanessa. So I'm just hopping on and I'm talking about sharing an experience. Not so much a rant, but it is a personal whatever. But anyway, I recently had an experience where someone made me feel dismissed, or like I wasn't, important enough to talk to or whatever. And it reminded me of this experience I had. I want to say at this point, it's got to be like 20 years ago, because I was with my first husband. We were in our 20s, and we went to a Jaguar dealership, and the sales rep was extremely dismissive and didn't even, like when we did the test drive, he didn't say anything about the car. He just didn't even bother doing an application or any of that. And what he didn't know is that when we showed up there, the car we rode there in had the same payment as the Jaguar we were looking at and interested in, but he couldn't be bothered, to even deal with us. He had just assumed, oh, it's this black couple in their 20s. They don't have any money. I'm not going to waste my time. It's, whatever. Couple hours before closing, I'm not going to. And so essentially he dismissed us by his attitude and his demeanor. And so that was the feeling. And I remember I have never ever felt that before. I have never ever been treated like that before. And I called the dealership manager the next day, and he was full of excuses or whatever, and I didn't care. And of course we never went back, but I did call him and let him know how that particular rep made us feel being there. Now, this situation that I'm talking about with right now has nothing to do with race, but what I'm saying is it was that same feeling of somebody already having concluded or passed judgment on who they think you are before they even give you the time of day to have a conversation or whatever. And so that feeling of being dismissed really speaks to an area that I'm really going to be putting a lot of focus and energy towards in my coaching and working with my clients, because this feeling of being dismissed can really cause us to want to shrink back, to want to not step out there and be confident in who we are and being who we are. So basically it's kind of like you have an idea of who you think you are. You have an idea of what you're capable of, what you believe you deserve, etc. And you step up there to the table and they look at you like, what you doing here? And it can cause you to feel like, well, did I get it wrong? Maybe am I not as great or awesome as I thought I was? And it can cause you to start going down that rabbit's hole. And it can cause you to start wanting to play small, wanting to hold back, not wanting to reach out because of that fear of being rejected or talked about, or who does she think she is, or any of that. And so, like I said, this is something that I'm going to be addressing and working with, especially in my upcoming masterclass on the 30th and in my new group program that I'm launching on July 1st. But this is an experience, like I said, I just had this today. And I'll tell you another story. And that is that, because as a coach, of course, we want to remain coachable, and we have coaches. And so I'm currently working with a coach, and he's like, multiple seven figures guy, the kind of money he makes. I didn't know that. Didn't know that at all. He had reached out to me, just, connected on Facebook, whatever, a couple of years ago. And I had no idea who he was, what kind of money he made, whatever. But he added me to his Facebook group for his business or whatever. So I was in there. And then at some point I, watched one of his challenges like months later because I was pregnant and had a baby last year. So I was not trying to really do much for my business. But when I finally kind of reached this place, I was like, what is he doing? After I watched his challenge, I said, oh, well, who is this guy? So I reached out to him, and said, hey, and he had DM'd me prior to that, a couple of times here, and they're like, hey, I'm running this free challenge here. And I'm like, I have a 2-month-old, whatever. So my point being, this man makes buku bucks, okay? He responded to my message. And not only did he respond to my message, because again, I have no clue who he is. I'm not, and because money does not make you highfalutin. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just because you have money doesn't mean that you're better than anybody else. And so, so I tell you this story because not only did he respond to me, we're having this conversation. I'm like, well, what do you got going on, whatever. He scheduled a sales call with me, and he did that with me directly. What I didn't know is that he has a team that handles his sales calls. He doesn't do sales calls. And I can tell you right now, if he had handed me off to one of his team members, I never would have become his client because my connection was with him. And what appealed to me about him was that he was approachable. That even though this program that he was talking about, he does a group style of coaching, even though it was a group program, he was approachable. He was not so far off that you can't get in touch with him and you've got to talk to, these 5 other people before you can. He's approachable. He's available. And that to me was important. Down to earth, human, whatever. And so it doesn't treat anybody any differently or make anybody feel more or less important based on where they are, financially, economically, whatever. And so, of course, I joined his program, so I'm working with him now. And so I shared this story with you to say that he's a perfect example of someone who has worked hard for what he has, but does not have a mentality or an attitude as though people are beneath him. He doesn't dismiss people. Now, yes, there are people who are not serious about, making changes and things like that. He's certainly not into wasting his time or having his time wasted, right? However, he's just approachable. And so that's something that I am right now and will always be, no matter how much my business continues to grow and become successful, because I just feel it's just being a good human, a good person to be approachable. Like I said, of course, we don't want to create time or space for individuals who have no genuine or sincere interest in, anything good or important. But even when people DM me their sales pitches, right? Because I'm a coach and I get DM'd constantly by people wanting to offer me their services. I always respond, even if it's thanks, but I'm not interested, because, I just realized that they're people and they're just trying to do what they're trying to do. My business coach told, she gave me a line. She's like, you got to respect their hustle. And so I respect their hustle. And so because I respect their hustle of them simply trying to, make money and provide for themselves and their families. Hey, Bobby, that because I respect their hustle, I acknowledge their messages. And I let them know, and I read what they say, and then I let them know whether or not I'm interested. Certain stuff that's spammy, that's different. But when I know it's a person that's contacting me, I do respond, legitimately. And I think that's important because, like I said, I don't care how successful or how big you get. You just can't be walking around dismissing people, because here's the fun part. You don't know who they are. You don't know who they know. And you don't know how that energy is going to come back and get you, because you reap what you sow. And so if you want to be someone who is doing good in the world, helping people, supporting people, etc., then you got to put that out in all areas and all ways, and that's what's going to come back to you. But when you kind of have some parts of you that aren't quite really truly there, and you kind of showing maybe, then that's going to come back around on you too. So my point being is, it doesn't feel good to be dismissed, because it can make you feel like you're not allowed to be you, like you're not going to be accepted, and like when you step out confidently that people are going to poke fun at you, tease you, put you down, or not accept you or acknowledge you. this isn't just something that I've experienced right now. There's some stupid situations that I've had in my life. Just people saying dumb stuff. I remember in high school, we had a dance. And for those of you that don't know, I know how to dance. I always have. Yes, I can dance and I can sing. Hey, whatever. So I was in high school and we were having some type of a dance in the gym, whatever. And I was dancing, and my friend, she really wasn't much of a dancer. But some guy says to her, one of the popular guys, whatever, he said, "Oh, your friend dancing like she thinks she's popular." What the heck is that supposed to mean? That because I'm not popular, I have to stand on the wall and act like I don't know how to move my thing to the beat? I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do I have to shrink back because you're uncomfortable with how I'm feeling me? Do you see what I'm saying? So people will try to put you in a box and keep you where they think you ought to be, which says everything about where they're at, not you, okay? But we can internalize that. We can begin to question ourselves. We can begin to feel like, well, I'm not really allowed to be me. I'm not really allowed to play full out. I have to, I need to not be too much. I need to not have an opinion. I need to hold back. My personality is big, right? And I'm at an age now where I don't apologize for that anymore. And now what I'm not talking about is showing up and being rude and crass or not being willing to change or continue to grow and improve. Absolutely. You should do all of those things. Yes, Bobby. Exactly. So yes, we want to continue to work on ourselves and be good people. But what we don't want to do is act like we need somebody else's permission to be who we are. That we allow someone who doesn't see our value and our worth to dismiss us as if they are on some higher level than us. Because here's the thing. Money is money. It comes and goes. It's energy. Anybody can get it anytime they feel like putting on the mindset and the work. It does have anything to do with the quality of their character, their integrity, the kind of person they are. So having more money doesn't make you better than anybody else. Having more success in your business does not make you better than anybody else. Okay? Period, dot, and dot. And so I say all that to say that when you encounter these experiences where you are dismissed, where you are made to feel like you don't have a voice, like you're not allowed to speak up, like you're not allowed to be you, it's going to hurt. Your feelings going to be hurt for a little bit. But like me, it happened. And you know what I did? I put on my makeup and my hair and I said, I'm doing a live. Okay, that's what I did. Got me up off my butt and got me on a live. Okay, so I was like, oh no. Because I do not like this feeling that I have, and I know what this is. And so I'm going to speak into that. And just because I'm a coach, it doesn't mean that I myself am not on my own journey. Just because I help others does not mean I myself don't need help. I do. And so as coaches, that's something that we, the great ones, the good ones, recognize. And they have their coaches that they work with. They have the people that help them continuing to grow and do better. And what we don't ever want to do is make an assumption about who we think somebody is and whether or not we believe or feel they can help us or not, because we don't really know if we've never had a conversation. Content on social media is great. It will kind of lay things out for you, give you an idea of who people are. It's especially good if you're looking, considering working with someone or whatever, but you really aren't ever going to really know what that person is about unless you really connect with them and have a one-on-one conversation with them. And for me, that's why I allow people, I'll say at the end of my YouTube video, you can DM me on my Instagram. I'm not afraid of getting 1,000 DMs. Of course, if, I've gotten multiple DMs, but guess what? I just answer them. And then if it ever got to be too much, I would just say so and find some other way to manage that. But guess what? That's not my problem yet. And so I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm too busy or unapproachable. And to the original situation that I was speaking about how this person made me feel dismissed, I had this same interaction with a different person who's even really truly on a higher level than this person. And they responded immediately, kindly, gave me some feedback, didn't have the time to really give me what I was asking for, but had the courtesy to be courteous and to acknowledge and to just speak and say, you know what I'm saying? To not act like she was just too whatever. And so anyway, like I said, this wasn't going to turn into a rant, but it clearly has. But my point is that you have a right to feel good about who you are. You are allowed to be loud, dance, sing, have an opinion, an original thought. You do not have to hide what's good, great, and special about you to make the person next to you who's unsure of themselves feel better about who they are. Because let me tell you something, you shrinking down and dimming your light for somebody that don't even know how to turn theirs on, what good is that gonna do? How are people gonna benefit if you're not being you and shining in all your light and greatness? So that's my message. That's really what I'm saying. Because that really is what got triggered in me, was all of these feelings of like, wait a minute, being dismissed, being made to feel like, oh, wow, they really don't see me as being on their level. Because I never considered myself not being on their level. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't think like that. I don't I have another story. So when I was an intern, I was like, yes, Bobby. So when I was an intern, how old was I? Like 20? No. 21, 22, something around in there. Anyway, so I was working for a Japanese auto supplier, and my boss, she was the VP of HR. And at that time, we got a new HRIS system. It was called JD Edwards. I was like the youngest person in the company. So whatever, I got, as an HR intern, I got the privilege of learning the software and going through the training. And it was my job to train everybody else. And so I did. I took screenshots. I made all these helpful binders and folders, training materials for everyone. I trained everybody. And that's really when I got my first taste of training and really knocked it out of the park, honestly, for where I was at the age and whatever. But my point is they had a meeting, and it was all the VPs, and because it was a Japanese auto supplier, and at that time, this is back in the was this the 90s, early 2000s, that culture was predominantly male, dominated, whatever. So we go into the conference room, table is all men except for me and my boss, and they're asking questions about JD Edwards or whatever. So guess what? I proceeded to go right into the presentation. They ask a question. Oh, I have an answer. And afterwards, she says to me, she goes, they really respected you. And I think it's because you just kind of act like you're one of them. And in the back of my mind, I said, I am one of them. Okay, I'm sorry. She must not have known, but she needed to ask somebody. Do you know what I mean? What does HR intern mean? Doesn't have anything to do with anything. I don't care nothing about no title. Yeah, I have an original thought. Yeah, I have an opinion. Yeah, I have knowledge and information that can help you. So I am going to raise my hand and speak up. That's always been the way I've been. But you go through life and you go through scenarios and you have situations and you're around people who are not self-aware, who they themselves have no voice, who they themselves don't know how to speak up. And so they want to cause you to be quiet because they're uncomfortable with the fact that you're not afraid to speak up. So don't do that. Stop apologizing for who you are. Keep doing your work and your thing to become a better woman and a better person overall. But stop apologizing for who you are because somebody else doesn't feel good about who they are. Okay? Let's just stop that. And then let's also not allow people who think that they are better than you to get to you, because nobody is better than you. Yeah, Karen, trying to be better like that. Yeah, it's not easy when someone dismisses you and makes you feel like you don't have a seat at the table, like you're not one of them, like you're not as important, you're not as successful or whatever. And it's like, hold up. Who do you think you are? You don't even know me. You don't know me. You don't know what I know. And again, you don't know who I know. And so that's why you never want to be dismissive You want to be courteous and polite and kind to people because you just don't know how that's going to come on right on around and back at you, down the road. And so, I mentioned earlier, I'll say it again, I'm actually having a masterclass next Wednesday, June 30th at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. It's called Who Am I Anyway? And it's all about this, about really giving ourselves permission to be ourselves in our businesses and in our relationships. Because here's one for you. Guess what? If you are constantly shrinking back and allowing people to make you feel bad for being you in your business, trust and believe you're doing the same thing in your relationships with men. You're compromising, you're biting your tongue, you're not being honest and speaking up and really showing who it is you really are because you're afraid you might be rejected or that, oh, maybe he won't like me. And it's like, well, you better be you because he needs to like her. If he's going to marry her, he ought to know who she is. But some of us have been so disconnected for so long, we don't even know who she is anymore. She's buried under our beliefs, under all that negative feedback, under the fear of being teased, under the fear of being rejected, just all of that stuff. And so as a part of this masterclass, we're going to be finding her again. We're going to be finding you, I should say, because here's my thing. When it comes to that phrase, finding yourself, I don't look at that as like, okay, well, you need to get a backpack and go across Europe and, all these different places and find yourself. Guess where you are? In here. You've always been there. You just, like I said, got buried under life and other people's opinions and other people's stuff and junk that they gunked on you that turned you into someone you're not. And here's the thing. If you have a big personality, here's what's funny. If you have a big personality, you understand what I'm saying. People look at you and they go, oh man, you have such a big personality, you're too much. And it's like, you don't even know. Because all you've seen is about 10%. There's another 90 you don't even know about. Okay? And if you have a big personality, you know what I'm saying. You're like, oh, okay. So you think this is too much? Okay. You think this is a lot? Guess what? This ain't even really fully me on all 5 bars. You know what I mean? So I guess my point is, and this is also something that I'm doing too, is own it. Own it. You are amazing. You're incredible. You have gifts and talents that are better than other people. And there are other people that have things that are better than what you do. But those things that you're better at, those things that you really are good at, those things that are your gifts, your natural, innate, God-given talents and abilities, you don't have to water those down, dumb them down, diminish them for nobody. They're your gifts. You let them shine. And you allow them to shine and illuminate and create positive change in others. Because that's why you were given them. Not to stuff them down in a bag underneath a rock so that nobody will criticize you or say, well, who does she think she is? Or she ain't all that. Maybe I am. But I don't think that way. It's funny when people say that to you, it's like, how small-minded are you that you think somebody is wasting time sitting around thinking about what you think about them? Ain't nobody caring about what. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, some people think that you take them into consideration when you make choices and decisions. You don't. You really don't. Years ago, I used to watch Dr. Phil, and he said, if you knew how little people thought about you, you wouldn't care how much they actually did. And so that's the truth. But anyway, so my point is give yourself permission to love all the parts of you. Forgive yourself for hiding. And when you are dismissed, it is going to hurt. So get a little emotional, speak it out loud. I feel hurt, I feel sad, because I had to do it. I was like, I feel hurt. My feelings are hurt. I was hurt. Because like I said, that's not a feeling I've had in 20 years. But like I said, it spurred me to get on this camera and start talking to y'all. It didn't make me shrink back. And so anytime someone dismisses you, I want you to take one big step forward and keep going around them or over them. because they are not in control of what you do. They are not in control of who you are. And they are not in charge of the woman that you are becoming, that you are growing into. They just mad because they can't come with you. Can I get someone to say a hello? Yes, Bobby. Okay. See, sometimes, it's so many different facets to this, and I don't want to be, just rambling and ranting, but that's what I wanted to say. I had this experience today where I felt dismissed. I didn't like it. It really hurt. And it taught me a lesson that being approachable is something that I will always embody and continue to be. I'm approachable now. Anybody will tell you, you can talk to me. And what's interesting is people talk to me and they tell me everything. And that's because they know they can trust me, because it's not going anywhere. And I'm going to help them, and I understand them, and I get it because I'm an empath, and so I can connect and feel what they feel and help them get to the bottom of it and solve that problem. And so this is my gift and my talent. So simply because at times I may be engaged in a conversation or dealing with someone to where I'm not monetizing that gift doesn't mean I'm going to hold back and not serve that person the way that they deserve as a human being. And like I said, I'm not talking about, in your business dealing with people who just want to waste your time or aren't serious. I get that. You have to have boundaries, but we also have to be approachable. Because we're not too good, we're not too important, we're not better than anybody else. And we don't know who people are or who they know, and how that dismissing them is going to come right on back around and kick us in the behind. So if you've been dismissed, don't feel bad. I got dismissed today. And, I'm over it now that I've had this opportunity to talk to you all and share this. But in my masterclass next Wednesday on June 30th at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be getting into all of this. And we're going to be talking about 3 main areas. One is getting back in touch with who you are. I call that section Uncovering Your Original Joys. So really who you were before all the gunk life threw on top of you and told you couldn't do and couldn't be and couldn't have, right? Then we're going to talk about forgiving yourself. Because isn't it true that that's like the number one person we hold grudges against and gripes against and beat up constantly and call, why you being so stupid? Why you can't just do this and do that, right? And then thirdly, we're going to talk about shifting from fear to confidence. So going from that place of being afraid of being judged, of being teased, of having people, criticize us or make us feel like we don't belong. Going from that to, I don't need to belong. I'm going to build my own daggone table. And guess what? You won't have a chair there. Okay? So, anyway, if you have any comments or questions for me, since I'm on live, go ahead and pop them in the comments. If you have any questions or thoughts on this topic, I'll give it a moment before I hop off. I have a habit of just hopping off lives. Vanessa. Well, I do. I just say what I have to say and then I leave. But you guys are good enough to be here with me. So I want to give you an opportunity. If you have any questions or if you have anything that you want me to know, I'm happy to answer it. Girl, fire. Yes. And so really, as women business owners, being dismissed is rough, Bobby. And let me say this. It not only can happen in business with a professional colleague, it can happen in relationships too. I'm married, but I know that when you're single and you're trying to get into a relationship, you can be dismissed, by someone. And that doesn't feel good. Yeah, go right into protection mode. Yeah. So protection mode. So Bobby, let me ask you this. Who are you protecting? I would say you. That when you're dismissed, you go into protection. Yes. Yep. That when you are dismissed, you go into protection mode to protect you. And what you're really trying to protect yourself from is from your feelings being hurt further, from further damage occurring. But here's the other part of it is especially in business, we can't always control who we're around or who we're dealing with. So there's going to be times when this happens. But when we really consider the relationships that we have that are part of our personal life, we do have control. And so sometimes it's that we are allowing people to be in our lives that shouldn't be there. Because if someone doesn't see our value, if someone doesn't see our worth, if someone doesn't recognize that we are bringing so many beautiful qualities and talents and gifts to the table, and love us or appreciate that or support us or encourage us, then that's not somebody that you need to have in your circle. They're not on your team. In fact, they're probably jealous, and they'll kind of make you feel bad because they feel bad about themselves. So see, that's the other part of it is when you're dealing with someone who does not feel good about themselves, who has low self-esteem, who is not self-aware, they do what I like to call leveling. And so what a leveler does is the way they determine how they feel about themselves is based on other people. So they take other people and they compare themselves to other people. And then when they encounter someone who speaks confidently, who has an opinion, who has a strong personality, they begin to tear that person down because they can't wrap their minds around the fact that that person feels so good in their own skin, has an opinion, has original thought, is confident. And so in order to make themselves feel better about themselves, they'll start to tear that person down. And that's usually you, right? They'll start to tear you down to make themselves feel better. And so that's what I mean when I say do not diminish yourself for that person who does not even know who they are. The fact that they don't know who they are is not your problem. That's theirs. That's their problem. And guess what? You pretending not to be you doesn't make them feel any better about themselves, doesn't do them any benefit long term. It doesn't do anything for them because it's not about you. It's about them. It's a personal problem. So we have to start learning how to detach ourselves from this idea that what other people think about us has anything to do with how we feel about ourselves. What we think about ourselves is not contingent upon the acceptance of anybody else. It is us that have to acknowledge and accept us. And that's the disconnect there. And so we're going to talk about that. All of this in my masterclass next Wednesday at 7. I strongly encourage you to be there. You can register by clicking the link in my bio and invite a friend, because I'm sure there's maybe somebody that you know that is struggling with this as well. And please invite them to join in too. But yes, I wanted to hop on and share this topic with you. And Bobby is stated it so perfectly when she said that when we're dismissed, we'll go into protection mode. And honestly, oh, wonderful, you're registered, great. So, and I will say this, I'll admit this, Bobby, that when, and hey, Liat, that I'll admit this, Bobby, that when I was dismissed, I did shrink back because I didn't just reach out to more than one person, but that person's reaction was so negative that I just kind of told everybody else, never mind, because I just felt like, if that's their attitude, well, maybe that's the attitude of everybody else. So, that's where I went. But then I thought, wait a minute. And that's when I decided to go live and speak into, this feeling and this experience that I had and really share that with you all, because I know that it's something that happens to all of us, especially those of us who are really putting ourselves out there, whether it be in our businesses or whether it just be in our just innate nature and who we are, that we're outgoing, or we're a people person, we're that person. And Bobby, I know you are, that when we're surrounded by or interact with people who don't get that, they can make us feel bad and make us feel like we have to, like if we're if we're 10, they want us to feel like, well, you need to turn that down to a 2. But what I'm telling you is you crank that up to 15, 20 even, okay? And you break the knob, okay? That's what you do, okay? Again, balancing it with you're continuing to work on yourself, become a better person. You're not trying to be rude. I'm not advocating that, not at all. What I am advocating, though, is you have every right to love every part of you and every gift and every talent and every ability that you have. And you do not have to hide it, and you do not have to diminish it to make somebody else feel better about the fact that they don't know who they are. Even if you're still searching for who you are, you're 75% more there than they are, okay? And remember, the woman who we are, she's already in there, okay? It's just a matter of peeling off those layers to get to her and then allowing her to emerge and grow and transform. Because the mask, the person that we pretend to be, it can't grow because it's not real. So we really can't become the next level version of ourselves until we're willing to be ourselves. And no matter how many people dismiss you, make you feel like you're not important, make you feel like you're not as good as them or they don't have enough time for you, bump them. You do you, and you keep doing you and sharing your gifts. And guess what? Your success, your excellence, all those things are going to come rolling in. And that person who dismissed you, well, those are seeds. And as you know, you reap what you sow. And so you continue to sow seeds of goodness. And that's what you're going to reap back. And for myself, when I go through situations like this, what I always like to take from it, especially as a business owner, is now I know exactly what I'm not going to do, right? So I will always be approachable, okay? So anyway, thank you ladies so much for watching. Is there anybody else that has a question or a comment? You can type it in the chat and I'll try to answer it since I'm here on the live. And if not, I will go ahead and pop off so I can get baby girl down for bed. All right? Okay, I don't see anything there. So anyway, thank you all for watching and for being here. And I'm going to try to do this at least once a day. So make sure you pop on because you never know what I'm going to be talking about. All right? I'll see you ladies. Have a good night. Love you guys.